Welcome to Recycling Week 2022. What better place to come than here at Port Talbot Steelworks, one of the UK's biggest recycling plants. And it's not just steel we're recycling here. We've got recycling our process gases. Who would have known that nearly 80% of all of the energy, the electricity and gas used on this site is generated through our own use of our own process gases, either directly or through our on-site power plant. We recycle all the slag that comes off the blast furnace and off the steel plant. We recycle all our water. Recycling happens everywhere on this site. But today we've come to the steel plant and we're particularly interested in the steel that gets recycled here. I'm delighted to be joined by Rhian Woolf. Rhian is technical manager at the steel plant here. Listen, thanks for having us down here, Rhian. There's a lot of stuff here behind us, but a lot of people might not realise that scrap steel is an inherent part of the steel making process from blast furnaces. Tell us why that is.
Okay, so to give you a basic overview of the process then, we're taking in molten iron from the blast furnaces, and we also got this part of the plant, we have scrap bays, different type of scrap that we're using. We're using about 18% scrap per steel mix. That's about 65 tonnes of scrap, and the rest is molten iron put into the vessel. So we start off by putting this scrap into the scrap box. That gets charged then into the box vessel, and we then pour the molten iron on top of that scrap. We blow in oxygen. We reduce then the impurities, remove the impurities in the molten iron. Obviously scrap got lower carbon, hot metals about 4.5% carbon in that molten iron. So then we're melting scrap, and that controls the temperature in the mix as well.
Yeah, so it's fundamentally, we almost couldn't make steel without using scrap as part of it, so it's that important. But as we look here, there looks like all sorts of different types of scrap here, Rhian. What sort of scrap can we accept? I can see it's segregated, but it looks like lots of different types.
Yeah, there's 12 different types here currently. We're taking in external scrap that we buy in, and we've got our own internal scrap as well, for our own arising across the works. So as an example of external scrap, we're using steel cans, then we're using incinerator scrap from domestic incinerators, using rail as well we're buying in. And then some of our internal scrap is just a waste that we have through the processes we then reuse. So.
Yeah, and how much did you say we're using every week, every month, every year?
So on average about 12,000 tonnes of scrap that we use every week.
Yeah, 12,000 tonnes, which is a lot more than we can see behind us. But a bit of fag packet maths, that kind of comes to about 600,000 tonnes of steel scrap a year, which is enormous. Well, maybe that's why we are one of the biggest recycling plants in the UK. Now, you talked there about the amount of scrap we're using compared to iron, but if that is saving us energy and it is saving us costs and it's good for the environment, is there an opportunity to increase the amount of scrap that we're putting into the mix?
Absolutely, it's definitely on our agenda at the moment, as we are pushing our scrap weights, looking at what's available outside in the market we can buy in to increase the scrap ratio and scrap weights that we're using.
And technically, what sort of percentage levels is on your journey in terms of aiming for, do you think?
23-25% scrap we'd like to get to.
Yeah, 23.
Reduce then sort of raw materials that we use then in the iron making process as well, and the carbon that we generate doing the blow. So when we're oxidising the carbon in the molten iron.
Yeah. So it's another part of the story, isn't it? How the whole site and the whole industry is reducing its carbon footprint without necessarily yet changing technology. So listen, Rhian, thanks very much for bringing us down. It's a fabulous story, and what a great one for Recycling Week. 600,000 tonnes of steel scrap recycled on this site every single year, and more to come. Rhian, thanks very much.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks.